Are you ready to take control of your finances and make April your best budgeting month yet? Well, you're in the right place. In this video, we are diving deep into the ultimate guide for budgeting for April. So whether you've been budgeting for the very first time or you're a seasoned pro, stick around for some tips and tricks to help you crush your financial goals for April. So let's get started. The very first thing that you want to take a look at is your income. And I want you to take out a calendar for April and mark down which dates you expect your paycheck. Also make note of commissions. A lot of times, maybe you might have reports of what you were able to earn last month and those get paid for the following month. So you probably have a good idea of what those commissions might be. And if that's the case, go ahead and make sure to write that down. And if you're not sure, see if you can provide an estimate, maybe go to look at last year's numbers and just kind of guide yourself with that to give you an estimated amount. Now, if you're expecting a refund from your taxes, also make sure to include that. Now, the next thing that you're going to do is make a list of all your bills that have due dates. So this can be your water bill, your Netflix, payment for your vehicles, things like that. They have a due date. And I want you to put it on the calendar so you can visually see kind of when these due dates are coming up. Along with, what you've already done with your paycheck, you've put that on the calendar as well. And now you can tell which bills will be paid from which paycheck. So at this point, you might be wondering, okay, so now what about the day-to-day spending like groceries and eating out and things like that? Well, here's the thing. I absolutely hate tracking every little thing and keeping track of all the little receipts and things like that. And so when it comes to this kind of stuff, here's what I recommend. And I feel like I found that a lot of my clients have found it to be much easier. And it's just to estimate kind of what you might be spending in, for example, the groceries category in 2 weeks. For example, from your one paycheck to the next paycheck. What do you expect to spend on groceries within that time frame? And so either you take that money out in cash or you transfer that money to a separate account, take it out of your main checking account so you're not tempted to spend it, but move it somewhere else where, okay, this is how much I have. And every time you spend from it, you know exactly what you have left. And that just makes it a little easier because you just have an allocated amount for that particular spending. And so if this is your first time doing something like this and you might not be too confident in your estimate, then maybe give yourself a little buffer, add another $100 just to be sure. As you continue doing this, you'll get better about figuring out what a good estimate for things like groceries and eating out and gas for your car might be. Now let's move on to saving goals. Particularly, I do like setting up a separate accounts for saving goals. And that could be, for example, one of the first ones I want you to set up is your emergency fund. And if you don't have one, then maybe consider figuring out how much do you want to start putting into that. And then another thing could be like vacations. Especially now as we're getting closer to the summer months, if you have not set up an account for vacations, then I would advise you to go ahead and get that started so that you can start saving up now. Let's say you have a vacation in July, you could start getting started here in April, and it kind of breaks it up so it's easier to save up for. Another thing might be that there's graduations coming up. So as you start planning these things like setting up your vacation and signing up your kids for activities, make note of how much of these would cost and go deep into these things as well. Like when you set up a vacation, then what is all involved? Like transportation or needing to get your dog in to get somebody to take care of. And so there's all these added little costs that relate to that trip that you're going to be taking. So make note and start making a list of all of that. Same thing for activities. Will your kids need specific supplies, specific equipment to be able to do that? Make sure to take note of all the different expenses related to vacation and kids' activities. As you can see, I love planning ahead and just being well prepared to what's to come. If you like this video and you really enjoyed being guided through the little things that sometimes we don't think about, then I invite you to schedule a call with me so that we can look at your specific life situation and go through your own paychecks, your own expenses, and try to be a little bit more proactive with those things. And from there, we can really be able to build a plan for you that is easy to keep up with and keeps you motivated to reach those saving goals or debt payoff.